You ready, are you? Squiggles on the screen are there.
Yeah, I think, is that like an ECG? Is it showing a pulse? In that case, I'm still here.
Only just.
The Tyre Kickers Classic Car Chat with Max and Matt.
Oh, we're back, and boy, do we have a load of classic car nonsense for you in this episode.
Like, for example, motors with mega miles. We'll ask, should you care if your car has more digits on the clock than Big Ben?
The Tyre Kickers.
Also coming up, my tip for the next big thing. It's sleek, it's German, it's from the 1990s, and I think it's massively underrated.
Plus, like, subscribe, and click on the bell. It's the catchphrase of every YouTuber going. But which YouTube channels are best for that classic car fix? We'll rate them.
So unplug the trickle charger, whip off the dust cover, and let's wheel out episode 32 of The Tyre Kickers.
Classic Car Chat with a UK slant. This is The Tyre Kickers.
So in the last episode, you, Matthew, said you quite fancied a Mercedes R107 SL like mine, but there are two reasons you can't buy one.
Why?
Reason number one is I got one first and we can't look like twins. And reason number two is refer to reason number one.
Well, I was only sort of joking. Well, I sort of was, sort of wasn't. But as the owner of a manual, no power-assisted 1960s car, I'm a little bit jealous of your power-assisted world since you've been telling me about it.
It's nice.
I mean, what have you got in that car? You've got auto gearbox.
Yeah, tick.
Power steering.
Tick.
Windows that press a button, electric windows, wind up and down.
Yeah, lovely.
Oh, and this heater that you keep talking about, that actually works.
Oh, it's just on all the time. It's so good.
And while my car starts and runs fine, it's probably, you've got that sort of fuel-injected reliability, haven't you?
It does. It starts, it goes, and it stops. And that's what I think sometimes you might be missing, because I remember my previous car, the Porsche 912, that did none of those. It didn't start. It didn't stop. But it stopped, but it broke down a lot. It looked nice, but it just didn't have that kind of consistency, that reliability. And I do get where you're coming from.
If you're going to break down, you need to do it in style, don't you? So at least as people passed you on the motorway as you stood on the hard shoulder, they thought, well, that's a nice car.
Nice looking car, broken down, yeah.
That is a benefit of classic cars. You're going to pick a classic car, pick one that looks good, which is, I suppose, where you're going.
I have a solution for you. It is a Mercedes. It is an SL. It won't break the bank, and it won't break down either. It's a Mercedes R129 SL, the one from 1989 to 2001. Now, I think this car is the next big thing. I think I may have mentioned this in the past.
Yeah, I'm not sure I completely agree, but go on.
Honestly, I am excellent at predicting classic car trends.
Hold on, let's just rewind. Didn't you say the Porsche, which one, 944 was the next big thing? Has that happened yet?
It hasn't quite happened. I mean, it is I feel, because we talked about the Porsche 944 in the last episode, and it's not happening. I do feel, though, that the Porsche 944 Turbo is happening because the Porsche 930, 911 Turbo is getting so expensive. It's dragging up the 944 Turbo. So that is a fail, but it's a sort of fail, because I do think the 944 Turbos are going up in value.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of caveats on there. It's not the first car that you've sort of tried to predict whether it's going to be hot or not, is it, though?
No, I did also say that the Jaguar XJS isn't the next big thing. Remember that? But then Chris Harris has bought one, made loads of videos on it. And then TWR have made this resto mod XJS called the Supercat, which is kind of making them interesting all over again. Have you seen this? Have a look at this on your screen now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. That's a body kit on a body kit, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all flared arches. It's got xenon headlights. It's got a big flicked up tail like a kind of touring car of the 1980s. It does look really impressive. I mean, the only downside about this is, guess what?
Price.
Yeah, 300,000 starting price.
Mind you, 660 brake horse, isn't it? That's quite a thing. Anyway, we're going off track, aren't we? You've dangled this Mercedes thing that you think is hot. Let's get back on that.
Yeah, let's get back to the point. It's the Mercedes R129 SL, which is I'm trying to basically sell it to you because I think it's an undiscovered bargain. 90's cool. There are V12s, which you should never really buy. Yeah. There's the V8s, which are great. There's brilliant straight and V6s. They handle a lot better than mine, the R107. The gearbox is a 5-speed from halfway through the production, which is a much smoother gearbox. The interior is just lovely. The hood is electric, so you can pop to the shops and not have to faff around. I think they're a really good buy at the moment. If you look on your screen now, here's one I've been watching for a while. It's a 1996, which is the kind of peak Mercedes M119 V8. It's in azurite blue with a blue hood, full beige leather, full history, the kind of mushroom leather inside, 5-speed gearbox. I think this is great. And the kicker in this is that it's $15,950. It's cheap. It's a V8. It's a Mercedes from exactly the right period, and it's 15 grand.
Now, you've talked about these before. I've sort of been here with R129s. They're not my favourite Mercedes. I do like the 107 and I do like the 230 afterwards. These ones, though, I looked at buying one of these. Now, you're not going to like this. I think they're overpriced at the moment, and I think they're overpriced because of nostalgia. And I think that the design, I think it's, again, falls into my thing of 90s car design is not very great. I think the 107 looked good. I think the one afterwards looked good. I think these have become popular because of their age.
But apart from that, you love it.
And I drove it and I was very underwhelmed. And I sat in it and I was very underwhelmed. And I thought I really should like this more than I do. This one, I think, was swanky in the 90s. This was the Princess Diana, Mercedes SL, wasn't it? I think it's just a bit meh now. I think it was really impressive back then because it stood out amongst the other 90s slabs. But I think this is danger. I think you're getting excited about this because of nostalgia.
I think I'm excited about these because they're a great, great car. You know, you drove, I think you're saying you drove one of the 6-cylinder ones. I've driven the V8 version, the M119 V8, which is perhaps Mercedes' peak engine. I think they're really good. They've got the V8 burble. They go really well. They handle nicely. I mean, they're not a great handling car. Gearbox is nice. Plus, it's that 90s cool. And you say you don't really like that. That really is where the kind of classic car market is at the moment in the 1990s. People are reliving that. And you do get a really good Merc. This is peak Mercedes build quality.
The 90s was cool for music. And the 90s was cool for putting Britain back on the map culturally. It wasn't cool for car design. The 90s cars, if you think back to cars in the 90s, they were pretty ugly, weren't they? The R129, maybe you're right with the V8. Maybe I need to try one with the V8 and see what that's like. But I looked at a few of these and I drove one of them, and it was an underwhelming driving experience. Not the power necessarily. It just felt neither classic nor modern to me.
Okay.
You always say that thing about, you've got a good car if you walk away from it and turn around and look round at it. And I didn't have this with this. It just felt quite ugly in the flesh. Cabin felt a bit low rent for Mercedes on it. I just think it just didn't do it for me.
I think, though, as a kind of antidote to your 60s car that smells of petrol and throws oil at you and doesn't have a heater or doesn't have anything, to be honest, I think this is a great alternative because you don't want to go from a 60s car that is giving you a few problems to another 60s car that will give you a few more problems. I think if you moved into this kind of 90s area, you'd have a usable car that you just know it's on the button. You could just drive it, whatever the weather. You know it's there. You know it's going to work. It's going to start and stop, and it's going to pamper you along the way. I think this is a good next car for you.
The 90s is one of those things that I just don't like. It's a bit like seafood. I don't like seafood. I don't like 90s car design, and nothing's really going to turn my head on it, I don't think.
I think when the whole of the classic car world is absolutely going 90s crazy, loving everything from the 90s, you're just going in the opposite direction. And I think you will eventually come around to my way of thinking about this because they're such good cars. It's almost impossible to ignore. It's almost impossible not to have one, to be honest, because they're so good.
Yeah, maybe I'll eat my words in like 5 years' time or something and go, my God, have you seen these? They're really nice. And talking of which, you've been giving these another look. There is method in our madness, by the way. We're not just talking about this for the sake of it. You've been doing a little bit of SL research, haven't you?
Yes, and don't sound surprised. Research does happen occasionally on this show. What is coming very soon is a summer SL special. Now, that sounds like an end of the pier show, but I will be talking about the 5 generations of the SL, the 190, the Pagoda, the R107, the R129, and up to the R230 with one of the country's leading Merc experts in the next couple of weeks. So do keep an ear out for that because it's a really good listen about which is a good car and which is less good car. He's kind of quite keen on the R129s, to be honest. Says there's a few too many round at the moment and they are a little bit overpriced from what you've been saying, but I still think that's a really good car. And when it becomes the next big thing, I will be serving you a dish of your words.
Think they're right or think they're wrong? Shoot us a note on our socials and let us know. We're at The Tyre Kickers UK on Insta and The Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
Well, yes, you're listening to the Tire Kickers, episode 32. Still to come, we look at the odometer and ask, would you buy a high-mileage classic? But first...
a quick update on a local Gloucestershire classic car owner. Now, I was waiting at a T-junction today on the Cirencester bypass when a lovely 1971 J-Reg blue Aston Martin DB6 Volante was coming from the other direction. Now, I was just about to say, that's the same spec as the one the Queen gave to Prince Charles, when I saw the bloke driving was wearing a suit with grey hair and was no less the King.
No way.
No blue lights, no sirens, no outriders, just a lovely DB6 trundling along with the roof up, but the window was open, showing me the King, and just a single dark blue L405 Range Rover behind. Now, isn't this a great thing in this country? This is something to be really celebrated, that the head of state... one can drive around with no motorcade and no miles and miles of sirens and police cars. And two, that he was stuck in the Cirencester bypass at the same time that I was, because they're doing roadworks there at the moment. So isn't this great that the head of state feels our roadwork pain?
Is this the one this is quite a famous Aston, isn't it? It's one that he's converted to run on turnips or something, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
It does run on something. Doesn't it run on vegetable oil or something?
It does, yeah. I think it's on 85% ethanol. So, yeah, it has a kind of bit of veg into it. But I just think that's really good, just to see him just cruising by, no fuss, no flash. I mean, you and I have seen US presidential motorcades in the States. They go on for 6 weeks and they close down the entire state. But this is just so cool that he just potters by in the Aston.
And it was definitely him. It wasn't like a looky-likey.
No, definitely him. Definitely a looky-likey who's got an Aston. But so I'd seen this car go past. I looked at the registration number and I thought, I'm going to do what every other classic car fan would do and check the King's MOT history.
Yeah, go on.
So no advisories. And it still needs one. Advisories, interestingly, but only 281 miles in the last year. Now, if he listens to this podcast, he should know he needs to use it a lot more than that. 281 miles is just going to be a whole load of trouble being stored up.
Wow, that's an amazing spot, though. Did he look at you and go, I knew that guy. That's the one from the Tire Kickers who's not funny.
That doesn't rule it out, though, doesn't it? That doesn't rule too many people out.
Narrow it down. It's the nerdy one. Oh wow, what a spot! It's so posh where you live. It's like Clarkson's Farm, isn't it? There's all just full of celebrities everywhere. But to see that, I don't think. I mean, that's a spot. You're gonna struggle to have a spot that's more showbiz and more of a classic car showbiz spot, aren't you?
I just wish I'd been in my Merc and he could have given me the classic car wave, the royal wave where you circle your hand rather than wave through the windscreen.
Get out my way, peasant. Wow, there you go. You're out and about. Well, I can't top that, really. I took my car to a car meet. That was about it.
Yeah, but you did see a nice rubber bumpered MGB I saw on Instagram, so that was good.
No, I did. I put some pictures up of this on Instagram, and it was one of those things that it kind of reminded me that classic cars aren't all the same, which sounds a blindingly obvious thing to say. Even the most supposedly mundane classic car can have something about it. But this MGB GT caught my eye. It was a 1979 one, and the guy had it a few months, and he's just swapped the wheels out. His name's Andrew. Hello, if you're listening. And he just swapped the wheels out, so that caught my attention straight away. But then there was something about the car. It had an aura. It was just period correct. It had those orange and black seats that the last sort of run-out MGBs had, and so it had the original seats in it. It just looked really straight as a car. He said, I've resisted the temptation to kind of, change the bumpers over and make it look old. I'm just happy with it looking late 70s, early 80s. And it just looked bang on. And the rubber bumpers look really, really good. Because, a lot of MGB owners, when they get them, they get peer pressured into feeling they must change those rubber bumpers, get rid of them, do the conversion kit, make the car look old. He said, I didn't want an MGB that was on wire wheels and had chrome bumpers. I didn't want to try and make this look like every other one in old English white and respray it. It was in British Racing Green. It had nice new black mini lights that really, really suited it. Had the original seats, as I say. I'd recently seen an MGB or an Austin Rover catalogue, and it had the MGBs, and I think I showed it to you, didn't I? It had the last couple of MGBs, the midget and the run-out MGB GT in it, in the back of the catalogue, and it had these orange seats in them. So it just reminded me of that. It just looked really, really good. He picked it up for a really good price. and in the back window was a Concorde sticker.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cool, isn't it? That is proper cool.
And the original dealer plates as well. The other bit about the car, which just kind of made it, just the last little bit about it was a local car which he picked up, and it still had the original dealer plates on it and had a story and load mileage. And where we were talking about this was not far from where the car was bought in 1979. So I just think it just had a really nice sort of aura about it.
I love those rubber bumper MGs, to be honest, because one, they're cheap. Two, they've got that great deck chair interior because it was all the kind of like bright orange stripes of the 1970s.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's just it's a period car, isn't it? I know people say they're ugly, but yeah, they are uglier than the original MGB, but they're still a good, nice looking car. They don't drive quite as well because they're raised a bit. The ride height is a bit higher because to get the bumpers at the right level. So they don't ride quite as nice, but they've got a nice interior. And also, you can pick a really good one up for like $5 or $6 grand.
Yeah, and it's the first time I've sort of looked at an MGB, rubber bumper MGB, in admiration, really. I know it's a sort of strange thing to say, but normally, unfortunately, you just walk past them, don't you? But it was a really good, fun car, and he said he's having real good fun using it as well. He does supermarket runs and all that sort of stuff in it. And I think the value of a classic car is actually, it's not about the price. It's about what the car feels like in the flesh and what you can do with it, I think. And I think for what he paid for it, which is the sort of numbers that you're talking about, it's a lot of car and a lot of fun. And that's your entry into the classic car world. I mean, the classic car world sometimes gets a bit of a bad rap for being a bit elitist or whatever. And it's so not. That car makes people smile. He says people smile at him. That's the entry level. That's what you need to get. Get a Spitfire, get an MGB GT, get something cheap and just get involved in the classic car scene and you'll get the enjoyment out of it without worrying about it too much.
And also those rubber bumper cars, they're great for touch parking in supermarkets because you just don't care. You just bump into everything. I think below 5 miles an hour, they just go back to the normal shape.
Well, that's what we talked about in the last episode. You need parking sensors on these things, don't you?
Not on those.
You can get in touch with Max and Matt via our socials. We're at The Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and The Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
You remember we spoke about whether there was a such thing as a cheap Porsche. Well, we've had some reaction, haven't we?
Yeah, Wizard Classics on Instagram got straight to the point saying, no, I'll save you the hassle. And that's based on experience. Sounds like he's learned the hard way about how much Porsche taxes are.
Yeah, exactly that. Zohar Melamed is a bit more positive, though. He suggests a 928 Max, preferably an early one, a Series 1 or Series 2. You agree?
We were going for cheap Porsches. I mean, you can buy them cheaply, but you can't run them very cheaply. He says it still looks like the future inside and out. I mean, they're great, but they're just really expensive to run.
Okay, back to the drawing board then. Kevin Bryant chipped in about this too on Facebook. He agreed with us and recommends a bargain Boxster, saying it's today's cheap porker to buy and enjoy. That's kind of the conclusion we came to, didn't we?
Yes, the Boxster. I mean, it's just a great car, to be honest. The 986s, the 987s. I mean, they're just really cheap at the moment. They're just a great classic car you can get out and enjoy.
Buy them now before they get expensive. Well, while we're talking about Porsches, have a look at the old Porsche factory pictures we put up on our Facebook page. There's lots of great black and white shots there and a real blast from the past if you're into Porsches, old cars, any classic cars. It's really good. So go and find that on our Facebook page.
We also talked on the last episode about what classics would make good track day cars. As a Triumph guy, Kevin Bryant is recommending the TR6 and TR7 V8. The 6, he says, will give you that direct experience, and the TR7 is a more refined drive. Well, not that refined. He says he saw a TR7 V8 at a meet recently and it stole the show. I do love a good TR7.
Also on the last episode, we scratched our chins and asked what modern car stuff would be great on our old classics. Well, Keith Gran Turismo on Instagram says he could do with some parking sensors on his old Toyota. He says it's a big car and he's always worried about hitting someone at the back.
And thanks too for our latest Apple podcast review. This one's from Piacere UK and says, great show, really enjoyed the banter. The hosts do know their stuff. Correction, the host knows his stuff. Well worth a listen.
You were off that week. Thank you so much for that. It's really nice to hear that you're enjoying it. And if you have enjoyed the show, please could we sort of plead /beg/ask nicely for you to give us a review and do the same. Just go to Apple Podcasts if you're listening on that platform and write some nice words. Why? Well, it helps people find the show, doesn't it, Max? And it helps us climb up the charts. And you know who we need to beat?
Scratch and Sniff.
Exactly. They're top of that number one. So we need to get up there. So any extra help or a leg up you can give us is very much appreciated.
It's episode 32, and we'll talk high mileage heroes in just a moment. But first, let's talk about our own cars and mine. Well, actually, nothing much has happened with the Merc lately because it just works. I did go to Enstone Airfield for a Wings and Wheels event, saw some nice planes. That's all on Instagram. There were some lovely Boeing Stearmans, Piper Super Cub, my favourite, plus some nice Land Rovers, and a Spitfire with a 6-cylinder conversion. but it was badged a GT6. But I am pretty 100% sure they never made a convertible Triumph GT6.
So life with your boring, reliable classic car is boring and reliable, is it?
Just works, yeah. I actually took it to the garden centre, and again, I put this photograph on Instagram because that's how reliable it is. And I managed to stuff 8 salvias in the back of it. And then I was driving around afterwards, and I stopped for a cup of tea in a village, and right parked behind me was amazing as I came out of the tea shop was a Dodge Charger in Top Banana yellow. Now, Top Banana was a factory colour they put on the 1960s Dodge Chargers. It just looked amazing.
Yeah, I saw that, and I also saw the garden centre picture, and I'm sort of laughing at you. But actually, it's what we always say with our classics. Use them for daily life. Do the supermarket run, go to the garden centre, put some stuff in. I spoke to a former owner of my Sunbeam a while ago who said that she used to move wardrobes around in mine back in the 80s. I think that's why it collapsed and was restored in the 90s. But cars, classic cars, we used to use them as runabout bangers, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the fun is, isn't it? As long as they don't break down on the motorway with that hard shoulder, I think it's pretty good fun to pootle around in classic cars, bit like the King.
Exactly that. I don't think he goes down to Sainsbury's in his classic car, though.
True.
He fills it up. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But yeah, my car's running all right, you'll be glad to know, even though you seem to think it breaks down a lot. It's never broken
Well, only because you tell me.
No, it's never
It's only based
down.
on your evidence. I mean, it's still leaking oil, is it? And leaking petrol.
Leaking is probably a bit... Yeah, it's not leaking. It's just marking its territory where it goes.
Oil is escaping from it. Ergo, it's
drippy.
leaking.
Drippy. It's an old car.
It doesn't matter what adjective you use. The oil is not staying in the engine.
That's something unique to this model. It is known for a little bit of a drip. It's not gushing oil out. It's just dripping every so often. It's fine.
It's a running oil change then. That's what they used to say about Land Rover series engines. It's permanent oil changes.
That's right. Yeah, you don't need to take it once a year. It flushes itself through.
It's episode 32 of the Tyre Kickers, and we're talking the best YouTube channels shortly. But first,
here's a question. How much mileage is too much? What is the speedo number that would put you off buying a car, and why? Now, some of our cars are 30, 40, 50, even 60 years old. So do we really care if it once did a long trip in 1978 or did some long commutes back in 1984?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think if there's a chance that some cars have been clocked, why are we bothered really about mileage at all? Surely it's better to have an honest car with higher numbers on the speedo than something that's claimed to have only been driven to the local shop once or twice in the past 50 years. And then once you start thinking like that, here's my crucial point. If you're not bothered about the mileage, a whole market of cheaper cars gets opened up. If you target the high mileage cars that frankly dealers don't like, you're going to get a much better deal.
Yeah, with our older cars, I mean, it's not really so much of a problem, isn't it? Because what does yours say? Mine says 05406, I think, on mine. So has that been around the clock? Is it a new odometer? Is it an old odometer that's been around the clock? I mean, it's not even got the original engine, I don't think. But I bought the car on condition, and the engine was good, maybe a bit drippy, but the engine was good, and it runs, and the car was in good condition. I think that's what you look at. And I think if you're looking at the car, you've got to bear in mind that a lot of those parts, even if it's on the original engine, have been replaced once, twice, several times. So you've got to buy with your eyes. I think on a new car, we're so obsessed with the low mileage, that becomes an issue because you're looking then on a newer car, replacing things for the first time. However, I think there's a converse to this. If you go for a classic car that's got low miles, one, you're going to be paying more for it because of that perceived value, obviously, even if the car doesn't look that good. I mean, I saw a car advertised the other day that had low mileage on it, and I thought, well, the condition of it is not very good. But the other thing about it as well is you're going to get a bit sort of angsty about using it and putting the miles on, aren't you?
Yeah, because you see these examples at auction where it's only got like 3,000 miles on it or 5,000 miles or 9,000 miles. Well, you're really not going to ever drive that because as soon as you put more miles on it and make it an average mileage car, then it loses its value. And there's this strange thing in the classic car market still about mileage. And these certain cars have cliff edges where once they cross that mileage threshold, they drop in value. Now, for E-types, they used to be seen as high mileage after 80,000. So lo and behold, every E-type you saw for sale was suspiciously somewhere between 70 and 79,000 miles because of this kind of like false market cliff edge. And it's the same with Mercedes SLs. The R107s are seen as high mileage once they get past 100,000 miles. But that's crazy because those cars can go on forever if they're well maintained. But the value drops after 100,000 miles, which is really the key point of this, is if you don't mind that kind of cliff edge, you can get some really cheap cars. Plus, there are some cars that take mileage really well. Now, if you look at 1980s German cars in particular, they do wear their miles well. Have a look on your screen now. Look at this 1989 Mark II Golf GTI 16 valve. So this is the very top of the Mark II GTI model. It's a two-door that makes it worth much more. It looks beautiful. It's £8,400 because it's got 140,000 miles on it. For these cars that were built really well, 140,000 miles is nothing. And if you average it out since 1989, it's not really a high mileage. So for this, you're getting a bargain because Golf GTI's 90s classics, they're quite expensive at the moment. This one, 8,400.
And it looks really smart, and it looks like it's in great condition. And I think you would not look at the mileage until you'd seen the car. I think that's another thing, isn't it? Put yourself in the scenario of going to a car show, a classic car show, and you walk around. I don't think I've ever asked anybody. Have you? I don't think anybody asked, what sort of miles has it got on it?
No, I've not really. Once a car's over 20, 30 years old, who knows? Who cares, to be honest, what it's been doing, as long as the condition in front of you is good. But again, the dealers seem to care because they're still obsessed by low mileage cars, which for classic cars is just a bit odd. Here's another one. Look again on your screen, a 1994 BMW 8 Series. Now, these are going up in value quite quickly, but this one is an 840 Ci, so not quite the top, but it's got 166,000 miles on it, which means it's going for £14,000. Again, for an 8 Series BMW at the moment, that's really cheap. And it's a great looking car. These 8 Series are fantastic cars, 90s build quality. I don't think you'll like it because it is a bit 90s, and what we were talking about earlier about the Mercedes R129, you don't really like that design language. But they are really good cars. They're going up in value at the moment because they're popular, but that is cheap because it's seen as high mileage.
I like the design of this, actually. It's not too slabby 90s, but if you look at it, it looks a really straight car. It's got a nice interior to it. It doesn't look like it's being eaten by a Labrador. It looks in really good condition. And then you just scroll on, you start seeing the service book with lots of stamps in it. It looks like it's been looked after. So as long as it's been serviced, and if it's been serviced by a specialist as well, that specialist will say, this is wearing out, or you need to replace this. And it will have been done properly, you hope. So I think that bodes much, much better than a car that's been sat around, because let's face it, what's the one thing that classic cars don't like doing is sitting around. Now, if this was a barn find, or there's another one, barn find, if this had some straw on it and had sat in a barn for 20 years, people would be fighting over it. But it's the wrong car to fight over, isn't it? Because, a car that's been sat in a barn is going to need pretty much everything replaced, isn't it, over time, starting with the hoses, then all the kind of consumables that are going to do, then probably the alternator will have packed up, and then probably something else will have packed up, and the starter motor will have seized, and all that sort of stuff. This car, if it's been used, enjoyed, serviced, is probably a better buy. As long as it's structurally sound, I think there's a much, much more intelligent choice, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's another one. Again, look again at your screen. This is a 1991 Porsche 928 Series 4. These Porsche 928s, these are great buys as well. They are quite expensive to run, but, as long as you get into the idea that you're running a V8 Porsche, it's going to cost you a fortune. They're still a great car to buy and tool around in. Again, this one's got 124,000 miles, not a huge amount, but because it's over that 100,000 mile threshold, it's seen as relatively cheap. Now, this one is 20,000, so it's not outrageously cheap for a 928, but it's a very good one. And really, when you look at the mileage, who cares about that? It's just such a nice car.
All three of those, it's quite unusual. You've picked really three good cars on this section. But
Don't
all
sound
three
surprised.
of those. Well, I'm surprised.
What's the surprise in your voice?
32 episodes in, I am surprised. No, joking aside, these are really, any three of those you could happily own because they're smart, and you just don't care about the mileage because the condition of them looks really, really good. Obviously, it's one thing in the photos and another in the flesh. You need to look at these things properly. But, old cars will have wear and tear. But I think if they've done those miles, the chances are the things that were burning out would have burnt out by now. And so you're on the second lease of life for these cars, aren't you?
Yeah, I think the service book that you pointed out in that BMW 840, it's got loads of stamps on it. It just looks great. And I'd much prefer that. I still don't get why dealers are so obsessed about low mileages, to be honest. The market's really hung up on that. And I don't really see a low mileage car as something that I'm really that interested in. You want to get something that's had a life and been serviced properly. And that's a way now you can get a lot cheaper cars than lots of dealers are offering.
And if you're looking at a 30, 40-year-old car that's got very low miles, it means it's not been used very much. It means it's sat around a lot. It's not had the oil change very much. The fluids have not gone through the veins of the car at a warm temperature. It's not been used. It's not been enjoyed. It's not been run out. It's not been run up the dual carriageway to keep it warm. And if it's sat still for like 5 years and you're the next owner, guess what you're going to be doing? You're going to be down the garage quite a lot.
I would love to hear the thoughts of our dear listener about this, because it's been a thing that's been bugging me for a while. Because you look at the super low mileage cars that dealers are charging 2 or 3 times really what a normal model will be worth. And you're thinking, well, why would you spend all that extra money for the risk of something that hasn't been maintained that regularly, when something which has got maybe 3 or 4 times the miles, isn't quite as nice but pretty good, is at least half or if not a third of the price? I don't see why they're still charging so much money for this kind of like low mileage thing, when if a car's 40, 30 years old, does it really matter? I would love to hear from you on our Facebook and Instagram accounts, because I haven't really worked it out myself. I'd like to know why.
You can get in touch with Max and Matt via our socials. We're at The Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and The Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
So the day is over, the bottle is open, and the TV is on. Remote in hand, what YouTube classic car channels do you tend to rely on for a bit of four-wheeled, light entertainment?
And what we mean by that, which YouTubers are great and which one's really great? It seems everyone's become a vlogger, a YouTube vlogger these days. So which channels and presenters we want to know? Keep you coming back for more. Max, which ones float your boats?
It was interesting. I was looking at this last night, and I was looking at lots of YouTube channels, and some are good and some are just awful, to be honest. I was amazed at how bad some people are, given a phone and like 45 minutes of airtime. But I mean, for me, I would always go to, first of all, Harry's Garage. Harry Metcalf, who used to own Evo magazine and has got a great collection of cars. I think he's always somebody whose opinions I take very seriously. He knows his stuff, he knows his onions, and I always watch his. He's come out about 5 o'clock on Sunday evenings. I'm always there about 5:15, having a look at it, because I really think he knows his stuff. I mean, the film quality isn't great, but I don't really mind that because the cars are good and he's good.
Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video. And this video is going to be about Range Rover and reliability. Because I know, as soon as I do a video on Range Rover, half the comments is, oh, it was terrible, it broke down all the time, more time in the workshop, etc. Is this a myth or reality?
Yeah, he's good. He's clearly got a professional crew on that somewhere, either editing it or certainly advising him or filming it, because it's not just thrown together. The one thing that you do, if you've ever tried doing any sort of video or YouTubing or anything, you realise quite quickly there's quite a lot more involved in it than meets the eye. But yeah, as you say, the production quality does differ on these. I think for me, it's the passion involved in it. I mean, I like number 27. The guy on called Jack on there, he started it during lockdown, didn't he?
He started with the Influenzo, didn't he?
That's right. It was a dodgy Ferrari that he bought blind, which then, he was handy with the spanners, so he spent time fixing that.
Hello everyone, and a warm welcome from me and from the troublesome Influenzo. Today it's going to be a great episode because I'm going to tell you everything that I've found that is broken and that is wrong with this car.
He's become really good at being enthusiastic about people's cars. He gets loaned cars and he'll go and take them out for a drive, and he does quite good reviews. So it's well shot and interesting videos. Production quality is quite good, so I think that's a good one, number 27.
All right, guys, how's it going? Welcome back.
High Peak Autos is one. There's a bloke called Matthew who runs a car dealership near Stockport, and he tends to buy lots of Range Rovers and Mercs, actually. He buys them unseen from the auction, and then they get delivered and he goes around them. So that's quite a good watch, actually. And funnily enough, he's turned into being a bit more professional. He seems to have a camera crew following him around during the week now, documenting him running his little car business. And it's turned into quite an interesting story, because it's not just the cars now. It's the kind of tale of running a car business behind it. So yeah, I really like that. High Peak Autos.
I think if we can get this as mint as possible, this could be, and don't laugh, this could be a £5,000 or £6,000 car.
Hubnut is another one I enjoy, Max. I think he's quite passionate about it. He did a really good Sunbeam Alpine one, which was just somebody genuinely enjoying the car, which was really good. And so he's good. I find him quite good on his stuff.
Oh, these little pancake filters. The induction roar. That's lovely.
Furious Driving I like too. He does a good couple of Rover P6 films. Although I did watch one last night he did on an MGA, and he'd fixed the camera to the body, And obviously the MGA vibrates a bit on our roads. And the camera was vibrating the whole time. It was unwatchable, which is a real shame because I love a good MGA film. But he's normally quite good, actually. I like him. He seems to know his stuff about British 50s, 60s and 70s cars.
Hello and welcome to Furious Driving, and this is my 1972 Rover P6 2000 SC.
I Drive a Classic. Do you watch those? Steph picks some kooky cars on that channel. There's even one where she's driving a princess, which I didn't really watch.
Oh, great. What fantastic content there.
Would I own a princess? If we were back in the 70s, absolutely. But in today, with part scarcity, perhaps not.
But she, as much as I slag off BL, I quite like that era of 70s thing, and it's quite interesting to see what an Allegro does drive like, terribly. But that's quite a good, if you want to get that sort of British nostalgia, she's very, very good at that. The other ones that I quite enjoy, Max, and YouTube, and things have come on in leaps and bounds in the last couple of years, Manor Park Classics and Anglia Classics now. Anglia Classics especially have got really good production values when they do those live auctions now. They've got like a steady cam going on. They've got graphics on the screen, live graphics they're throwing up. It's a great watch on a Saturday, even though I think I said in a couple of episodes previously that while I had it on in the kitchen and I was listening to the bidding and watching what prices were going for, my teenage son walked through looking for something to eat, I think, and just went, "Why are you watching that?" It's just a bloke saying the price over and over again, and it's like, "Yeah, that's an auction." But it's a good watch for us nerds. So yeah, every other Saturday there's usually an auction going on. It's either Manor Park Classics, Anglia Classics, or Iconics, or whoever. But they've all got really, really good at their production values of putting the stuff on now, so you can sit and enjoy the auctions at home.
And actually, Paul Cowland's preview films of Manor Park Classic auctions are really good.
Welcome, you lovely people. This is my walk around for Saturday, May the 24th. Here at Manor Park Classics.
I mean, I learned quite a lot from him just going around these kind of strange cars you don't know much about. He gives you a good kind of take on what the cars are about. So I do like those auction films, to be honest.
That could be the bargain of the sale. The paint is good but not perfect, but the fun is there. I think you'll have an awful lot of jolly days out in the sunshine. No roof, of course, because it's not really about that. Just drive it with the roof down. If it rains, you get wet.
And also, Jeff Buys Cars does spreadsheets of auctions, which I'm quite impressed about. I don't know why he always does it sitting in a car. Maybe he's not allowed to film at home, but he always sits in a kind of like driving seat of a car, but then goes through the detail of what auction houses are asking and what they actually got. And it's a really good way of keeping up to date with the prices and stuff. He's very good. I admire anybody who gets a spreadsheet going.
Jeff, make smaller spreadsheets. No, we need the data. If you have a Jaguar E-Type, today, Friday, just go and donate it to your local charity shop.
You mentioned some YouTube channels that were terrible, and we no names, no pack drill. But what are the ones you turn off? Is it just a bad production quality, or is it when they just haven't got any like charisma, or what is it that makes you skip?
I think, to be honest, it's people who talk too much, which is a bit rich coming from us. who waffle on for like 45 minutes every other week. But I think sometimes you would just want to see the cars, and you kind of want to grab somebody by the lapels and say, "Show me the car. I've had enough of you talking. Just show me the shots of the car, because that's what I'm here for."
Long intros, I think, when just waffling on and you just, oh God. And the ones that are good, they section them up actually, so you can kind of skip forward. But yeah, just get into it. One of the things that's quite good is to put, and the better YouTubers do this, they put the best bit of the video at the front, so it gives you a little teaser to stay watching. Because if you've got somebody, flooring the car or making, if you're driving, I don't know, a Stag or something, and you hear someone burbling on the road and go, "Oh my God, this is really great." If that's at the start, you don't mind a little bit of a preamble after that. But it's when they come on and they just go, "Oh, hello," and you think, "Oh God, 3 minutes later, show me the car."
And also in the same shot that they start with. That's why I like Matt Watson on cars, on CarWow or his own video channel. Now, it's modern cars and stuff, but he's really good at changing a shot, keeping it interesting, going around, he reviews hundreds of cars a year, and he's still really enthusiastic. That's what's nice about him.
Yeah, the ones I switch off are the ones that there are a few that I've watched sort of in the last few months that have had really potentially interesting stuff. But as you say, the production is terrible. The sound's distorted, or the camera's kind of like on a wonk, and it's just kind of a bit half-assed. Sometimes it's really frustrating to think, I'd actually like to watch this, but it just hasn't got the elements that make it watchable.
The temptation, and this would be my temptation, would be to go on and on and on about the facts and figures that you know without actually thinking about who would be watching this.
Should we go on YouTube?
No.
Are we ready? What do you mean no?
I don't want to go on YouTube. Do you want to go on YouTube?
Well, no, I can't be bothered. To be honest, I quite like doing this. It's much more intimate, this, isn't it? You can kind of, just talk directly. I think hats off to those guys that we've mentioned, actually, because they do put a lot of effort into doing stuff. If you've not done any of this sort of YouTube type production, go and have a look at how it's done, because you have to drive that car up and down the road quite a few times from different angles. You have to then, especially if you're working on your own, you've got to set the camera up and do lots and lots of different takes of it to cut it together. And then you've got to try and edit it together. And editing takes forever, doesn't it, of YouTube stuff? So hats off to people who do stuff. But I think that aside, I think YouTube has been really good in giving us something to watch, hasn't it? Because I now find, I don't know if you find this, but I now find formatted TV shows really dull,
really boring, yeah, because you've got that kind of YouTube option to go to where you can get content about stuff that you want. Okay, it's not delivered in a kind of slick way, but then if you've got something that's interesting on your screen, who cares?
There are some good, classic car TV shows. And they're not all bad, but some of them do feel very formatted. And now when I watch TV generally, linear TV, it's kind of, oh God, this is. There's a well-known holiday program where they show people properties abroad, and that is so corny now. It just feels so dated. It's like, and we looked at 3 properties and just show me the properties, just show me the apartments. I don't know about you. I mean, we're in our 50s, but I watch YouTube more than I watch TV now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, YouTube took over terrestrial, normal, whatever you call it, TV about 2 or 3 years ago in this household.
I think if we made an effort, Max, we could probably do all right on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. It's that effort word, isn't it?
That's the thing, isn't it? You'd have to have a shave and like make an effort and put the lights on, and then
I'm sitting here and kind of like in my gardening shorts.
Well, exactly that, yeah.
Not really being bothered to have done my hair.
And also, we'd need a big makeup budget, you and I, wouldn't we? We'd have to
plastic surgery, I think.
They'd have to sandblast us before we went on. And then it's a whole different thing. But, the nice thing about doing this is that we can just think on the fly and talk about stuff, can't we? Whereas I just think it becomes much more of a
job. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a job to me. I'm not keen on those.
Well, listen, we've been wittering on about the YouTube channels that we like watching, and as you can hear, we do like watching YouTube channels. It just gives us something to do. So if there's any we've missed that you think we would enjoy, drop us a line. We'll put something on our socials about this and ask people to vote on their favourite one, or just give us some ideas of the best one. That'd be really good, because we're always looking for something to watch, because we need to fill the time before we shuffle off.
That's what happens when you get old, isn't it? You need some telly.
So if I was a bingo caller, I'd say buckle my shoe, as that's it for episode 32.
What? Are you looking for a new career?
Coming up in the next show.
We're more sinners than saints, but let's look at Simon Templar's striking Swede, the Volvo P1800.
Plus, if only we knew, we'll rewind to 1985 and see what pin-up classics we could have bought for a song.
The Tyre Kickers.
As ever, feel free to chip in with your opinions about anything we've spoken about on this episode. Just leave us a comment on our socials or send us a DM. Here's a reminder how.
You can find us at The Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and The Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another load of classic car chat, but until then, keep driving, keep smiling, and don't worry about the bills so much. See ya.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Tyre Kickers. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts.
How was that for you?
Yeah, so can you hear my chair squeaking?
You can give it another run for safety if you want.
No,
can't be bothered. That's what I like about you.
Yeah,
it's the commitment.
Right, it's the commitment.